Good evening. Great to be with you. You just heard Tim and I talking about what Andrew Wiggins provided tonight. And outside of Wiggins, I mean, they don't, in Tim's estimation, win this game without him. What did you see from Wiggins in this game on both ends of the floor in terms of his contribution to Golden State's win?
Well, I thought it was the best performance he's ever put forth. I didn't hear you and Tim Legler talking prior to my coming on, but I could imagine what my buddy Legs had to say. Andrew Wiggins stepped up, and he's going to erase memories of him being the #1 overall pick and being in Minnesota and being relatively pedestrian. He was aggressive tonight. He was looking for a shot. He recognized the fact that Steph Curry didn't have his, and as a result, he really stepped up and handled his business on both ends of the floor. Shooting 12 of 23 for the field, ended up with 26 points, grabbing 13 rebounds, embracing the toughest assignment, which was Jason Tatum, and contributing to holding Jason Tatum to 5 points in the fourth quarter and 1 of 5 shooting. So about the job that Andrew Wiggins did tonight. He was clearly the MVP of this game.
No doubt. And my apologies, Stephen A. I never know when you get your earpiece in to hear what the conversation was. But Legs and I were just talking about how if we're patient, which we aren't always in our business, right? If we're patient, we can allow somebody to become something more than they were. And we get what he was and what he...
Yeah, that's always the case.
Right.
Well, that's always the case.
Always.
I mean, of course, if we're patient, we'll see guys. But because you can't afford to be. When guys walk to the negotiating table and they're asking for 30 or 40 million,
it's not
and the money that
though.
you give them costs somebody else something, you don't have, I'm just saying, you don't have but so much time. You need immediate dividends. You need an immediate payoff in that sometimes. And what I mean by immediate, it doesn't have to be that year, but year 2, year 3, you definitely need to see something. You don't need a former #1 overall pick waiting 5 or 6 years to show you what he's capable of doing in a moment like this. But you can't take credit away for what he has shown us. He has shown that he can score the ball, but more importantly, he's willing to embrace tough defensive assignments, and he answers the call. And he deserves a lot of credit for that, and he's getting it right now.
No doubt. Stephen A., if I tell you tonight at 9 Eastern, right before the jump, Steph goes 0 for 3. For the first time in his career in the playoffs, 133rd playoff game, he doesn't make it 3. If I tell you that prior to the game and you're in Boston's locker room, you think we're going home with a chance to seal it. Do you feel like they missed perhaps their best opportunity to steal one if a 7th game is needed?
I don't think so because they're road warriors. They were 7-0 coming into this game. You know what their record was on the road. They were 7-0. In terms of after a loss.
Right.
So we know that they can show up and deliver the goods on the road. I was very scared for Golden State coming into this game because I said they needed this game desperately because they're going to be hard pressed to convince me that they're going to be able to beat Boston in back-to-back games at TD Bank Garden. That crowd is going to be rocking. They're going to be ready, and I think Tatum and Brown and the rest of the cast will feed off of that. We'll see what happens. But to come back here and Golden State for Game 7, it's not beyond the realm of comprehension that an elite defensive team can show up on the road and really close the team out. It's entirely possible that Boston could do it. I'm not assuming they will. I've got Golden State winning this series in 7 games, but nevertheless, I don't negate the fact, nor do I ignore the fact that the Boston Celtics, with their personnel, can come in here in a Game 7 to win it. But they got to get it done in Game 6 because when you consider what Boston did, they're in a tight spot right now because Golden State shows up in Game 6 Thursday night playing with house money, knowing they've got a Game 7 back here as a worst-case scenario. That's a dangerous position for Boston to be in where Steph Curry and them can just show up and know they got 48 minutes to ruin everything for you, and they got the cushion of a Game 7. Boston's in trouble.
Stephen A. Smith, it's a long work day, man. I always appreciate you staying up late with us. I know First Take, that alarm goes off quickly, so rest well. I appreciate the time and be well until next time, okay, my friend?
Thank you, my man. Appreciate it.
The Bay, and in the meantime, we'll get the thoughts of Tim Legler, and that's the man. We'll hear what he had to say. What do you have to say about the significance of his contribution tonight? Do they win without him?
If he was even this less good in this series, they're not in a position to win the series. That's how special Andrew Wiggins has been. I have so much appreciation for what this guy's become as a basketball player. Mm-hmm. I said it to you like late third, early fourth. I don't know where to be without him. And then he had a huge flourish in the fourth.
I walk in and we have chit-chat, right? Where are we going to go here? I walk in, and as you and I are talking, you just like, let me write this down. What are you going to show us from what you and I are talking about? has he put an exclamation mark on that?
And he's the only athlete they have right now that can do this, that's in the rotation, that can make some of these plays. And I just think they're so important. Here you go, 1-point game, early fourth quarter. And, we could talk about their defense a lot tonight, too, as well, Scott. And this is kind of symptomatic of what you saw a lot of in the second half. 4 bodies around Jason Tatum on a finish. So the activity was great. But then it's this. They don't have anybody else in their team that can do it. And it's special. He comes up the floor, and you can see right here, Derek White, his shoulders are in the right place because Wiggins is coming up that side of the floor. But this little look he gives over here, he makes White think that he's going to go and cross over. White actually spins out this way, and watch how quickly when he does that, Andrew Wiggins is at the rim. He's the only athlete in the open floor that can make this play. Maybe Kuminga, but he's not in the rotation right now. Gets to the rim, very important play, puts him up 3. Here's another one here. Steph Curry, as he's prone to do, going to draw 2 guys. Reason I want you to see this, when Wiggins makes this dive right here to the basketball, take a look at where he jumps from. He's going to leave the ground in this area right here. And you got 2 backline defenders that are just waiting to make a play at the rim, but you can't do it because of where he catches it, splits, takes off, goes to the left. Again, a critical time in the game. One more time. Again, Steph doing most of the work, draws the contact. Wiggins catches it, he looks up. He's got a wall on the baseline.
Yeah, he does.
Again, he takes a look. This is where the gap is, and I want you to watch where he ends up shooting his basketball from. He puts it down, starts to go. He's going to jump right here in the middle of the lane. By the time he lands, he is all the way outside the lane here. Again, just being a freak athlete with great touch on the run, tough floater. He's been great on the glass tonight. He was that electric scorer that they needed to be on a night that Steph Curry really struggled to get anything going. Wiggins really bailed them out in this one, and their defense was manic from the start. Completely different defensive energy than we've seen to this point in the series.
And I think it was, as I pointed out, Boston missed the first dozen threes it took. Then they hit, 8 in a row as they take a 5-point lead. And we've seen the ebbs and flows of this series. We saw it in Game 1 where Boston made, 10 in a row in the fourth to grab Game 1 and steal home court for the moment. But Golden State's ability to absorb those punches, kind of gather, and then ride Wiggins really on a night. You tell Coach Udoka in Boston, Steph's going to go 0 from 3 for the first time in his career. You think you're stealing this game. You have to.
Particularly when you've had no answer for him to this point. And you say, hey, we're going to hold him to this kind of night. There's no way we lose that game. Particularly if Klay doesn't go off.
Sure.
You say, well, maybe that's the other thing that could happen. This is scenario C. You keep those guys under wraps for the most part, and Wiggins completely guts you with his ability to play one-on-one basketball and just be athletic in the paint.
I just want to try to explore more just the idea of being a number 1 pick, right? Being a guy that people question what you're not, right? He's not, whatever. Well, what he is was on complete display, and you did a great job of illustrating it. I think it speaks to the fact that players are allowed to get better. They're allowed to mature in every different way. And if we're patient, sometimes people can become the player in full, and it feels like that's what we're seeing from Wiggins.
This was a guy that put up huge numbers in Minnesota, and boy, did it benefit him tonight. Because tonight he became that Andrew Wiggins when he needed to be. I mean, this is a guy that a lot of nights could be your 4th best offensive player, and he was an all-star this year. We've talked more about his defense and rebounding, I think, than anything this year. Tonight, he reverted back to, hey, you guys forgot. I averaged almost 25 a game in Minnesota one year.
Right.
So if I need to do this, I can be it. But I think the style of play and Draymond Green in particular, making him accountable to be better defensively, more alert, on your toes, be aware. You've got to make rotations when we need you to make them. He's not afraid to bark at him, and I've been seeing it really since the day he got there, and it's made him a better player. He's now looked at as a winner, Scott.
And I wasn't going to but you, because sure, he put up big numbers in Minnesota, but with respect, so what?
They were hollow.
They're not part of anything that really added up to something. So how do you become less than that on something more than that, right?
Yeah.
On a team that's more than that. I appreciate a player like Wiggins, who is given the opportunity to just take a step back to take a step forward, and it feels like We're seeing that in this finals because they don't win this game without him, as you said.
When he went to Golden State, I think everybody was kind of wondering what that was going to look like. Like, what's the fit? He had a lot of people questioning his concentration level more than anything. He's a very laid-back guy, and sometimes those guys get labeled something.
Wasn't it the 1-2 more than the concentration?
That's what I'm saying. Guys like that get labeled lazy sometimes because they're super calm, their demeanor never changes, and he would turn his head and watch the ball get beat on a back cut. I saw some of those nights, and I'm going, he's just not locked in. But he goes there, and they got the most out of him. But you can't do it unless a guy is willing to take that extra step, and he clearly has, because he's more physical. The rebounds he gets are tough ones. They play small lineups. He's the only guy out there grabbing some of those balls, capable of doing it against this team that is so athletic, so much more athletic than they are. And I said to you earlier tonight, I said, I don't know where they would be without him right now. He's clearly been their second best player offensively in this series, and he's been their best rebounder. At times, he's been their best defender, getting Tatum most of the series. The guy's just had a phenomenal run here, and he's going to be viewed completely different.